Bonjour tout le monde. We are talking about food today. Yay, one of my favorites. So, this lesson isn't really about French food as much as it's about learning how to talk about food that you might be eating here in the States in French. All right, so let's get started. Food. Okay, first we need to start talking about nouns. Nouns are people, places, or things. So, all foods are nouns. All nouns in French are considered to be masculine or feminine, which is kind of weird for Americans when we're learning French. It's the same thing in Spanish and a lot of other languages too. So for example, a table is feminine and a pencil is considered masculine. I know that can sound kind of weird. It has to do with the origin of the word, not really what the item is itself. So it's not like a table, it's feminine. The word for table is feminine. How can you tell if a noun is masculine or feminine? So there's a few different ways. One way is you can look it up in the dictionary. And after the word itself, you'll see either an M or an F. The M stands for masculine and the F stands for feminine. A hint is if a word ends with an E, it's often feminine, but it's not always. So that doesn't work all the time. But if you're desperate to know if a word is feminine or masculine and you don't have a dictionary around and you can't ask somebody and it ends with an E, I would guess feminine. And then another hint is to look at the article before the noun to help you. An article are little words like the or a. So when we talk about food in this lesson, we're just focusing on how to say the word a or an. All right. So in English, we have one way to say a. It's just a, unless the next word starts with a vowel, and then it's an. So we have a hamburger, a hot dog, a steak, and omelet. Right. We don't have masculine and feminine in English. So these foods, they're just foods to us. They're not considered masculine or feminine. Oops. But in French, there are two ways to say a, and it depends if the noun that you're talking about is masculine or feminine. So for masculine nouns, the way to say a is un, un steak, un hamburger, un hot dog. Steak, hamburger, hot dog are all considered masculine in French. So the way to say a in front of them is the word un. So means a when you're talking about things that are masculine. For feminine nouns, the way to say a is une omelette, une crêpe, une salade. Right? So basically you just added an e to your and it changed it to be pronounced as une omelette, une crêpe, une salade. These three items are considered feminine. And look, they all end with an E. Which remember, feminine words often end with an E, but not always. So here's our foods. We have the masculine ones on the top row and the feminine ones on the bottom row. Un croissant, un sandwich, un steak frites, un hamburger, un hot dog. Feminine, une salade, une pizza, une omelette, une crêpe, une glace. So, one trick is that if the food was traditionally American, hot dog, hamburger, steak, sandwich, those words when the French borrow American words, they're almost always masculine. So, these are all very American foods. They're all masculine, right? Croissant is French and it's also masculine. For feminine, you'll see these all end with an E, glace, crêpe, omelette, salade, except for pizza. And pizza is not American, you guys, it's Italian. Okay, so this one is feminine. Here's an example, a word that ends with, it doesn't end with an E, but it's still feminine, right? So there are exceptions. So I think you should be able to tell what these all are. Croissant is a French pastry. Their sandwiches are often served on baguettes. And let's see, crepe is a really thin pancake. It looks like my video is going to stop recording in 17 seconds, so I'm going to stop right here and start again in just a second for part 2.